Welcome to At the Table, the podcast where questions meet conversations and real life meets real answers. Brought to you by the pastoral team at FBCKC, we're here to unpack the big topics, the small curiosities, and everything in between. Each week, we gather around the table to bring you diverse perspectives, authentic discussions, and biblical insight on issues that matter to you the most. From faith and family to culture and the tough questions, no subject is off limits. And with special guests joining us from time to time, you never know what fresh ideas or surprising insights might just pop up. This isn't just another podcast. It's a conversation where you have a seat at the table. Got a question or a topic you're curious about? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive deep together. Real questions, real answers, all at the table. Well, welcome back to At the Table, guys. We're so glad to be able to be here again with you tonight. Sitting here with Pastor Jeff, Pastor Sean, and Pastor Josh. And Pastor Josh, we've got a couple of guests with us. You want to introduce them?
Yeah, so we got a couple of leaders from our group. We've got Larry and Nicole Keeth. Larry is better known as Larry Bird to the students. So, great addition to our team. They're super good with the students. They love them so well. We're thankful for them. So
good deal. Larry and Nicole, you two are probably like 80% of the parents today in a blended family situation. Tell us a little bit about your background before we get into the details.
I guess I'll start. My oldest kids are from my first marriage, which was whenever I was 20. So I have a 20-year-old and a 19-year-old. Was divorced, then I remarried and had a daughter. She's 12. Divorced again. And then as I was going through life, not really following the Lord, I also had like a marriage, quote unquote, with my youngest son's mom. We had him, and then that did not work out because neither of us were following the Lord. And then decided that it was time for me to follow the Lord after that. And then I met Nicole. Yep.
Well, Larry's my only marriage, so there's that. And I only have the one child now, and he's 11. I had him when I was younger, 19 or 20.
Good answer.
I don't remember, something like that, 19 or 20. And I was with his father. We only ever dated, never married. Nothing like that. Yep.
So you definitely have a blended family.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With a blended family, how does it work?
Insert tears.
Insert tears at this point. What was the biggest obstacle that you guys found?
I think one of the biggest obstacles for me was trying to create a bond with my son, who I met when he was 6 years old. It's really difficult to do that. You have to get out of your comfort zone and really be intentional with things you do with him to create that bond, because it's not as tight as if you were there from the beginning.
So how'd you do that?
Like I said, I just had to get out of my comfort zone. Like I'm not really a super big hugger with my kids. They like to hug me, and I will hug them, but I don't really seek them out to hug them. But I needed to make sure that he knew that I loved him. So I did have to seek out with him.
I could see all kinds of difficulties there. First of all, a difference in discipline. Mm. Did you guys ever struggle with that?
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, because I wasn't even saved until I met Larry. He actually is the one that led me to salvation. So I grew up what's the S word that everybody uses? Secular?
Yeah.
That one. I grew up like that. and I was taught some unorthodox ways of punishment. My stepdad grew up in foster care, and so he never had a good example. And so we had some things that I didn't realize were harsh until I met Larry. And Miles who is my son, his biological father was very abusive. And Miles has actually been diagnosed with PTSD because of it. And something that I really struggled with, and it took us a couple years to get through it, is Larry would try to put his foot down as the husband and as the leader. And growing up with a single mom and being a single mom, it was really hard, one, for me to submit to him because, no thank you.
Yeah.
But also, I was trying to protect Miles from my childhood, and that caused a lot of problems between us. I remember there was a situation where he was trying to spank Miles, and I tried to jump in. Miles deserved the spanking 100%, but I didn't see it that way. I saw what my parents did to me.
Right.
And so it took a lot of years of trying to figure out my past is not his past. He's trying to lead, and I need to respect him and let him do what he's called to do.
Did that create jealousy among the kids?
I think so. Jackson, which is his youngest, there was an instance where Jackson got annoyed enough with Miles that I think he punched him once. It was only one time. We ended that pretty quickly, but I do think it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked what you did, Larry. You said my son when you were talking to Miles, and it's really not. When you become a couple in Christ, it is one family. It's not anything about that. But I am sure there's more than just the discipline that was tough. Did his kids trust you, Nicole?
The youngest, yeah, because I used to go over and play with him before we ever dated, so that was an easy build on a relationship. The older two, no. And they tried to give me a run for my money. I remember Noah, which is the one that's
second oldest.
Yeah, so I was a little harder than I needed to be. I came in kind of full swing and put my foot down really quickly on a household that didn't necessarily run the same way I did. And I do believe I pushed them away a little bit.
Sure. In building the new dynamics in the home, what strain did it put on you two?
I mean, there was a lot of strain, especially early on. For one, a blended family, but also trying to help someone who was a new Christian start making the life change that
Sure.
needed to be made. It was difficult.
Yeah. Thank goodness for coffee, because we stayed up talking and bickering a lot in the first couple of years of our marriage.
So are there still challenges?
There's always going to be challenges.
Sure.
Because not one kid is the same. Not one mother of the children is the same.
Right.
But we found better ways to communicate.
Before Sean and Josh and Chris ask you anything, I got to ask you this: do they play one against the other? You're not my mom, or you're not my dad, or
Oh.
Well, not really that, but Miles does try to play Nicole against me,
really?
especially if I'm stepping into discipline. He over dramatizes things to try to get her attention.
Sure.
So he does. I think Jackson plays.
Oh, he plays you.
I think he does.
Kids are smart like that. They know what you guys got.
I was just going to ask, what if, because that feels like, to me, like such a different experience from anything that, like, I grew up around or anything like that. So in all of those different things, like, what has God revealed to you about his character or the way that he loves you through those circumstances?
I think one of the things is his amazing mercy and grace. because you have to understand that to show that in your life. And you have to really show that in your life whenever you're dealing with kids that you don't quite have the bond with. And then dealing with, like, we got married a month after we dated. So it was super quick, getting, like, super fast getting to know each other, and all of those things. There had to be an immense amount of mercy and grace.
I think that the biggest thing I learned really is what love really is in the eyes of God. You know, growing up without it, you don't know what you're missing. But coming into a family, his parents helped us through so much. But just, you know, when they say that to live out the example, it's important, because if I didn't see people living like that, I never would have gotten where I am. And accepting the fact that God in control is way better than me in control. I tell myself that one every day.
Yeah, to me, I mean, there's so much maturity in that, what you're talking about. And it's awesome for me. I mean, I've just known you guys for about a year, if that. I love what you guys are doing as a family. And I know it's not easy, especially like you talked about that first year of marriage being incredibly difficult. I was reading in Romans 15, it says this, that therefore receive one another just as Christ also received us, to the glory of God. Blended families, I know we talk with blended families quite a bit, and the struggle that goes on there, right? About not truly treating each child like they're your own. But what has been the hardest obstacle so far for you guys in being a blended family?
I think maybe navigating discipline has probably been one of the hardest ones, because of some of the past that Nicole has, and then some of the past that Miles has. It's been difficult to figure out how to discipline him and do it in a healthy way, because if I come in a little fired up, he doesn't respond well to that. He just shuts down because of what happened with his father. So it's shown me that I need to have even more grace. And that's not always easy in the moment when you're fired up about something. But it's good to take that time to step back a little bit before you go into the punishment mode and collect yourself, so that way you go into it the right way.
And I can tell that you've been doing things in the right way because of how Miles responds to you. He responds to you not out of fear, but out of respect. And like I said, that's a nice and a beautiful thing to observe. So,
what is your target for the younger ones? What's your goal? And I would think breaking the cycle, Nicole, that you came from would be one of them. You know, I don't know. But in asking that, do you have a tendency to overstretch leniency because of your background?
So, especially with Miles, yeah. I really do. It's weird because with his kids, I have no problem putting my foot down. When it comes to Miles and that defense that I have for him, it's not healthy, and it took a lot of being real with myself and understanding that what I was doing was actually hindering him, and that I have to fix myself to fix him. And so going back to the men are supposed to be the leaders. They're designed to be the leaders. And I wanted to be the leader. So
you've had to be.
Yes, I've had to be. That's a very good way to put it. So the discipline in me to step back and respect him enough to know that he's doing what he's supposed to do helps me with that, because I want to go and be like, you're being too hard on him. You need to say nicer words. give him a hug, tell him you love him. Miles doesn't care. He just wants that cookie.
You know, I think, like Sean, I think you guys do an amazing job with him. Do you ever get jealous of the respect he has for Larry?
You know, no, but one thing Larry has taught me is that I need to demand more respect for myself.
Good answer.
Now, I don't want to pry too deeper into this, but to help the listeners understand and kind of relate a little bit better, you have Miles full-time?
Yes.
Okay, and yours are?
Jackson, we have half the time. And then my daughter, I don't really get to see. She lives in Michigan. And then my older boys are adults and could probably care less about dad right now. So.
Yeah. You'll be surprised how they come around.
Yeah, they will. And like I said, I didn't want to but to help them understand that they're not alone, that to put them more in the situation of understanding that what you guys have been through, that they're going through now that they understand that. So.
And the thing to understand a little bit with Miles, he's kind of our outlier. But technically, his dad has partial custody, but he's an addict and he's homeless and stuff. So not fit to be in the picture right now.
All right. I'm counseling a young couple, let's say. They've got prior marriages, children out of both marriages. What should I tell them?
Buy more coffee.
You're big on the coffee aspect of it.
That's her energy. I think one of the biggest things is one of the hardest things for men. As you see in Ephesians, we're called to love our wives like Christ loved the church. That's a huge ask for a sinful man. And I think it's very important that you do your best to fulfill that role. Because one, you need to teach your children that are not your wife's, that they need to respect her. And the best way to do that is not by your words, but your actions.
I agree wholeheartedly with that.
I think that, too, the communication aspect of it, like you said, pulling all-nighters, just working through things. And that's where I think a lot of couples that we even counsel with that are blended families, too, or even not blended families, struggle in that communication aspect of things. Are understood.
And like having enough respect for each other to have that communication in a quiet and safe place. Instead of just, I'm going to go on Facebook and tell everybody what he did.
Yeah. I think also to have the respect for each other, not to take that conversation into anger. It's never constructive when it's in anger. That was one of my biggest things that I told myself that I would never show Nicole anger. I think I've done a pretty good job at that.
She's agreeing. For those who can't see her, but she's agreeing.
I try to get a rise out of him sometimes, you know.
Yeah. All right. And wrapping this up, I want you to tell me 3 things that a prospective blended family should work out before marriage. I mean, one is definitely discipline. We've talked about it, but what about 2 others?
I think you need to work out what the roles biblically are for the husband and for the wife. I think it's very important because most likely they both have been doing it themselves and they're not doing it themselves anymore. I have a helpmeet. She is supposed to submit to me. That doesn't mean I walk all over her. So I think that's one important thing.
Still got one more.
I like something that I'm a little quirky, but something that we do when I want him to know that I need him to lead me, but I don't want to just say, man, be a man about it. I tell him to be my umbrella. And he knows that that is his time to step in and make the decision, and I will follow him.
And I'm glad y'all were here tonight. I know it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but a lot of couples are not doing near what you're doing, and they're facing struggles. as you well know, most second marriages, I think it's like 60% of them end in divorce. And for you, Larry, this is your third, so it goes up even more. So you guys got a lot of work ahead of you still. But I just want you to know you're doing a good job. And I'm proud of you. I'm glad to be a part of your life as you're part of the life here at First Baptist. Next week, we're going to do a little controversial. We're going to talk about the events that have taken place across our nation over the past week and a half, and different views that we have on that and what the Bible says about it, and hope you'll listen in.
Those questions can be sent to the all-new email address that we have. It is now table at FBCKC, or FBCKC, sorry. That's table at FBCKC.com, of course. We got our all-new setup for here. We look forward to be able to talk to you guys. Again, if you have questions about any of this, and especially with like the topics that are upcoming, a lot of times we, as you know, we try to release all of these on Tuesdays, but sometimes, I mean, most of the time they're recorded the week before, so you may not be able to get your questions submitted before, but we will still go back and reflect over any of the questions that come in, whether over any of the previous family matters that we've discussed in the last few weeks, or even with the Kirk situation, or any of the situations, since they seem to be happening more and more often.
Chris, one thing also, if they have a question for Larry and Nicole, I'm sure they wouldn't mind answering those if they just send them.
100%. You send them to that table at fbckc.com, and one of us will make sure that they get to Larry and Nicole to make sure that they get them answered. Whether we bring them back on a day, answer them, or we'll be happy to answer them online at any of the social media posts or whatever we need to do there to get them back to you. So, but for Pastor Sean, Pastor Jeff, Pastor Josh, almost forgot your name, Josh, sorry. This is Chris, and we look forward to seeing you at the table.